Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start with brief introduction to what we're doing this evening. Today, we decided to change up the coffee house a little bit and just do a screening of a video. It's a concept we've been playing around with a little bit, and we'll likely do it some more to kind of review some of the monetary videos that's out there, get people's feedback. We're always looking for better ways to tell the story of monetary reform. And what we have here tonight is a great video. It's called "The Waterworks of Money." My name is Mark Young. I'm a member of the Alliance and also International Movement for Monetary Reform core group member. And tonight's video is about a 20-minute video. It's a collaborative creation between a Dutch monetary reformer named Martin Linden, a journalist and a visual artist that does pictorials. This video got over 200,000 viewings in the Netherlands alone. It attempts to map out the world of money, tracing the money flows and exposing the hidden powers. And it's made for the ordinary person. I seen the video probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago. Since that time, as they'll talk about in the video, they are making additional videos that talk about monetary solutions and also shadow banking and a couple other videos that they have planned. They will also do the same type of video. So it's very interesting. Like I said, it's about 20 minutes long. So we're looking forward to the additional videos. Currently, they received a grant. I can't remember from who they got it from, but they received a grant, and so they're currently doing additional translations into other languages. It was originally done in Dutch, and this one is in English, and they are doing it in additional languages now. So without further ado, we will take a look at the video, and then we will come back together and decide then if we will stay in a main group, or we can kind of poll the group to see if we want to break out into rooms and discuss it in a little more details with less people. But with that, Ryan, please go ahead and start the video. Everybody back? So that's the video, Waterworks. As I said, they are making additional videos, as they mentioned at the end. And so we wanted to just have a discussion on what people thought about the video, insights, just raw feelings, questions, any of that would be helpful. And we can also relay these, your thoughts and opinions to the creators of the video. So now we have a choice. We can either stay in the room all together and let people comment, or we can break out into smaller groups and have discussions with smaller groups and then come back. And so if everybody knows how to do reactions, if you would like to break out into smaller groups, give me a thumbs up. We'll just go democratically, and whatever happens, happens. I don't see any thumbs up. There's one thumb up for a smaller group. All right, is it George versus everybody? Looks like it. I don't see anybody else with a thumb up. So that's fine. I don't have to ask forever. There's two, Nick. Just two people want to go out in breakout groups? That's fine. We can stay in the main group.
Oh wow, hold on,
So
sorry. I've been talking and muted this whole time. So my apologies. I was going to say I can open up a breakout room, and then for the folks who want to have a smaller group, you can go in that room, and then everyone else can stay in the large group. Does that work?
it was only two people, so it may not matter.
Okay. Well, trying to be accommodating here, but
I
I'll
understand.
just go back in my muted realm.
Well, if
Thanks
you
for
have
the effort.
comments, if you have comments, please raise your hand with the same reaction button, and I will call on you. Jeff, go ahead, Jeff.
Hi. Yeah, I don't think there's a single person in this group that would disagree anything that was stated in the video. So I'm thinking that one reason why you posted this, Mark, was to get more exposure to monetary reform ideas, which kind of harkens back to how I first got into this. Was a video that was produced by, can't remember his name now, but it's called Money is Debt. And that had like over 245,000 views. And I'm thinking that, yeah, this is great. And I'm going to follow this Waterworks, especially with regard to whenever they post this thing on inflation, because I know what caused the inflation, during the pandemic. So we'll see what happens and where this takes us.
Thanks, Jeff. Teresa.
Well, I joined a few minutes late, but my experience with people not answering such a question is that it doesn't matter one way or another. But I think small groups allow for more discussion possibilities. And I joined a few minutes late, so I didn't get the whole gist of it. But I'm with the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and there's a lot about women, money, and democracy. And I thought this might be illuminated for that reason. Plus, a lot of talk about public banking and other issues associated with money. So I just wanted to kind of learn a little bit, which is why I joined this evening. So it really doesn't matter one way or the other, small group or this larger group of 20 or so people. But I came to learn. Thank you.
Well, there's also Ryan posted a link. I don't know if you got the link, because I think when you join late, you may or may not see the previous chats, but she posted the link to the video. She can post it again, so you can click on it and watch it on your own time. And again, I know I watched it 2 or 3 times the first time I watched it, just because it's kind of in depth, and I wanted to. I had to watch it again to be able to follow everything and really focus in on what was going on inside the artwork. Joe.
As I said, I've seen it multiple times, and every time I see it, I think it's better. It's really good. I'm very impressed. The only thing that's missing, from my point of view, is something that Darlene had talked about, and that is that money is a creature of the law. And the source of the money really matters. And that's we're all about that. And I just like to see something in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and they talked a little bit about it's a political decision, but I agree with you that they could go into more detail, kind of on how the money systems came about. It's a lot, because it's obviously different in each country, even though somehow we ended up with the same system globally, even though it started different in each country, which tells you how big of a power and how powerful the money, whatever you want to call it, is. So thanks for that, Joe. Other comments? Oh, I know someone has something to say. Go ahead, Joe. I mean, not Joe. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm sorry for talking again. But just a second on what you said, Mark. That's the one thing that kind of set this apart from others, is the fact that they did say, this for you too, Joe, that it is a political decision. And I thought that made the whole video very complete. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Others? Oh, come on now. It's only 8:30. We have an hour and a half. Let's fill up some of the time. Nick, go ahead. You're on mute, Nick. There you go.
I think am I unmuted now?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, this is a great video. I've seen it before. I think it's most of us have. And the first young lady that talked was looking for something from like a beginning standpoint, the one that was in the Women's League for Peace and Justice. I didn't get her name. And that's what I think, you know, I mean, at least what I've been trying to do for the last several years is to get a way forward to make this information that we have about the money system available just to everyday people. Because the only way we change things politically, and they have to be changed politically, we live in a democracy, is to get the people to understand the system that we have now, which is that banks create our money as debt when they make loans. It only exists as debt while the loans are out. As the loans are repaid, the money is erased, meaning that we have to be in debt for there to be money in the system to work. It is absolutely insane. But our mission is to try to get this information in the hands of people. Most everybody here who's on here regularly or whatever, you know, they know that I've written a book. Actually, I've written 3. The first book is out though, Money Creation 101. It's available on Amazon. Just click right on there and go there and you can get it. And what that to me, or at least what I was trying to do, was to explain the system to people in words that they can understand, but with enough documentation behind it that it could stand up to scrutiny by anybody within the economics community. So,
Thanks, Nick. Mike.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, thanks for putting this together and doing the screening. I appreciate it. I think this is a good idea to have relevant points of interest for people in the monetary reform community to discuss these relevant subjects and information out there in the public sphere. So again, I appreciate it. I posted in the chat MONEYAC. Okay, so it's kind of an homage to ENIAC, which was the first computer back in the day. And so MONEYAC uses fluidic logic to represent the economic performance in terms of national income. And it was of the UK economy. And I think that using the analogy of, you know, the waterworks or this sort of money pumping is a very apt analogy, and it can be used in the case of MONEYAC. It was quantitative, right? So they attempted to provide for some weighted measures of the economy through the motion of the water. And so again, this is something I think that's critical to understand in the performance of the economy. And the technical folks might associate this with stock and flow consistency, right? And understanding of how accounting flows are structured and have to function in the economy. Otherwise, they would be considered fraudulent, right? Anyways, the analogy of water here, I think, is an important one, and it goes to show, again, they talked about here how when money is created via lending and rates are so low, as they were over time, have been over time, that the wealthy can borrow against assets that they own or even assets that they want to purchase. And they don't have to pay any taxes on that, right? So the structure of the monetary system and how the waterworks of money flows, it's designed to flow upwards, right? The way that banks originate loans, and again, in a low rate environment, it's much more advantageous for large corporations to purchase real estate, and they're basically using somebody else's money with rates that low. And so it incentivizes the rentier class, right? And there are other things, tax write-offs, tax incentives that prefer, the money being used by the already wealthy. And so this is a big problem. And understanding how to divert the waterworks, as it were, to those who need it, I think is that would be a very important point. So I don't know, you said that they were working on follow-up videos for this, and if they have any suggestions in their video for how to redirect the money flow. Of course, we advocate for monetary reform. I didn't hear any direct proposals pertaining to, say, monetary reform proposals. I'll have to watch it again, but I don't think that there were any direct proposals pertaining to how to solve this problem of money being created for the already wealthy, as opposed to creating money for those who need it.
Correct. At the end of the video, they did talk about they said that they would have a video on solutions. I don't know if there will be one video, two video, or three different videos. But we did talk to them. All three of them, I think, came to a IMMR core group meeting. They also were at the annual meeting for the IMMR and indicated that a sovereign money solution would definitely be included in one of their follow-up videos. And so we're all very much looking forward to that. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
France.
Did you call me, Mike? Mark?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. 2 points. I think the analogy of Waterworks for the flow of money through an economy is an appropriate one for describing of what's happening. And that's very important because most people are not exactly aware how money is created. And so for that reason, I feel I agree with what Mike was saying. The solutions part is the kind of important addition. And because, in my opinion, what is really needed is not only reform here and there in the monetary system, but a transformation. And I've been suggesting that we ought to engage in a transformational Bretton Woods 3.0, because the IMF has come up with Bretton Woods 2.0, which is a very reformist and traditional kind of way of approaching changes in the monetary system. And so in the website of transformmoney, one word, .org, I have presented the kind of draft video, draft website for my book on transforming money and the TRIMS monetary sustainability framework for global governance and international development. And so I'm very eager to see how my people in Holland, and with the input of other people, are dealing with solutions, because I think it's very important to also make a distinction between a reform approach to monetary issues and a transformational one. And if you read people like Mervyn, British governor and an economist, he feels that an overhaul of the system is needed. And that, of course, economists like from NYU University, so-called Dr. Doom, Rubini, Dr. Rubini, he has come up with a nomenclature of what we are living in is a crisis economy. And the crisis economy can be improved by reforming it, but basically the system stays in place. And the system ought not to stay in place because the system is based upon injustices in the monetary system, in the financial system, in the fiscal system, and also in the trading system. So in the 4 subsystems of the world economy, there is an enormous and unfortunately increasing amount of injustice that has to be dealt with. And I think people understand well what fairness is. And so I think for citizens, monetary organizations, they really can emphasize the issue of justice. And of course, the Alliance is focused on just money. But we have to be far more, in my opinion, far more bold to highlight this. So with that kind of hope of in the solutions area of a transformational approach, I feel that this beginning is good enough for me to suggest this to my group of working group on monetary justice in the UU, in the Unitarian Universalist Association, to understand how the monetary system can be compared to a waterworks. So they will understand this, but then it's very important that they can also see how the political system has to engage in transformational change of the system.
Thanks, Franz. I would also encourage you, if you follow the link to the Waterworks video, I believe there's a space where you can comment. So you might send them a link to your website. Maybe that's something they would consider doing a video on, since your solution is a much more kind of a single global solution instead of kind of a multinational solution. But thanks a lot. Teresa, go ahead.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate what Franz is saying about the transformation of money, because I come from a working class perspective, and I was a union organizer for many years. So I know that money is really about class struggle in the sense that people who are living in poverty, who don't have money and have no way to get it, because capitalism is based on keeping a certain number of people poor. It is an oppressive system of dealing with who has and who doesn't have. So I really appreciate what Franz is saying. And I will watch the whole Waterworks of Money video, and thanks to the person who put it in the chat. But for me, the new development bank, which is part of BRICS, the new alliance, which is focused in on the global South, so to speak, but it includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And they held a very important meeting, and they are talking about currency. And I think there are about 50 different currencies throughout the continent of Africa. But people are forced to use the euro, the dollar, and I guess the franc. So this whole idea of justice and money is important. So if France has any books that he's written, because I think I'm one of his followers, so if he could put anything that he's written that I can check out of the library or purchase, I would appreciate it, because I agree with his perspective. It is about justice. It really is about justice. And otherwise, it's just an esoteric, around in circles kind of thing. If you're not talking about how you're going to change the world and how you're going to end poverty and suffering, then what is the knowledge about money good for? Thank you.
Very true. Thanks, Teresa. John.
Thanks, Mark. This is the second time my wife and I have seen it. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was just kind of overwhelmed with the graphics that are so complex that I was distracted from what she was saying by trying to figure out what the meaning of the graphics was and what was going on there. I thought it was very distracting, too much detail, distracting. Now, the second time through it, I did a little bit better because I knew don't pay too much attention to all that detail because it's just distracting. So that's one of the things that I want to point out in terms of strategy. I always think to try to get the message across, you want to simplify things, and this does the opposite. So the overwhelming impression that you can get from seeing this is, holy dooly, this system is just awful what it's doing. But I have no idea what to do about it. So go away. And we've all encountered that kind of response from people. And this will get the same kind of response unless it's followed up by other things that people are asking for. Namely, well, what do you do about that? And one of the things that strikes me is that an essential problem here is the concentration of wealth, because what that means is the persistence of poverty. I lean on that heavily in part because of the obvious injustice of it and the fact that it's completely incompatible with democratic systems, because a concentration of wealth means concentration of power, and that's just the antithesis of democracy. So the question is, where do you attack this concentration of wealth? And we as an alliance focus on one of three major mechanisms that does this. We concentrate on the creation of money itself, which indeed does concentrate wealth. There's no doubt about it. But there are two other processes in our socio-economic lives that concentrate wealth, and we are silent about them. Well, there was one mention of it in this video, namely taxes. And taxation is another one that influences the distribution of wealth. The third thing is the marketplace itself. And the marketplace itself, where you have price control and wage control by huge corporations, allows this enormous concentration of wealth that occurs simply through the marketplace. And Oxfam estimates that maybe 50% of the wealth concentration occurs through the marketplace, leaving the other 50% somewhere between money creation and tax policy. But one of the important things is that both money creation and the marketplace concentrate wealth. And the only thing that operates in opposition to that is essentially government, because government spending can distribute wealth as it does. And it's the only thing that counteracts these other two. And so we've gone through this neoliberal, era where you say, oh, government, keep your hands off it. Well, keeping your hands off it means ineffective regulation and just invites this enormous concentration of wealth. So in summary, I just want to say that our task is to work on this money creation thing, but we have to recognize that there are other processes going on here that concentrate wealth, and we can't be blind to those as well. And as far as the water analogy, it's okay, in general, but boy, no analogy is perfect. And if you try to figure out now, what precision of the matching of the analogy to what goes on, and then you waste a lot of time and trouble. So my only criticism of this is there's too damn much detail. And if they follow it up with something that's understandable, then it's going to be good. But right now, the only effect it has is to say, "Oh God, this is awful. I don't want to deal with it." Thanks.
All right. Thanks, John. And if I could do my Monday morning quarterbacking, I would have loved to watch this video, and I've watched it several times, and I follow your sayings. And the first time it was too much, and the more I watched it, the more I understood it. But I would have loved to see a solution video right after it. Because when you tend to get into something, you want to see the next one, and that was several months ago. And it's kind of like, okay, but I get it. You know, I don't want to be too critical of them. They did this. I think they want to see how it worked, and if all that effort was worth it. And so I think they put it out, and I think they've gotten the response they want. So now, hopefully, they'll realize like this can be a successful model to reach some people. It's not going to reach everybody, but I think in monetary reform, I think what we found is that different messages reach different type of people, different age groups. Everybody wants to see something different. So we have to be very, very flexible in how we present the message, and kind of go from there. So hopefully the next round, they'll have a lot more meat. Maybe they'll put out 3 or 4 solutions at a time, but we'll have to wait and see. Jeff, hold on. I'm going to go to Paul first, since we haven't heard from Paul, and then I'll come back to Jeff and Franz. Go ahead, Paul.
Howdy. Yeah, my reaction was very similar to John's. It was like Where's Waldo kind of thing, and it was fun. You know, I really enjoyed watching it and everything. And I think maybe their goal was to create the reaction that John had. I don't want to see this. It's too complicated. They wanted to show just how complicated and how messy our system is. And they certainly succeeded in doing that. You know, I think the water analogy is really good, and it can be used. I mean, it's no coincidence that we talk about liquidity in our money system. So it's really valid. But you know, water is incompressible, and we know that's not the way our money system is. So they maybe have to add a steam and an ice part to their analogy to really complete the circle there. And I think if this is considered like just laying the foundation for a more detailed look at things, I think water could really help people understand certain incomprehensible aspects of the money system. So I'm hoping that they'll be open to suggestions that we provide them. You know, I think all of us in the money reform or transformation movement know how frustrating it is to talk to the average person who's not in this bubble, and to get them to even be interested, you know. And there may be ways with this artist here to do that, because I've tried to do things with, you know, sketching things out and PowerPoint. And it's really difficult. But if we could get these people to kind of apply their skills to our message, I think that would be, you know, very beneficial. So I'm just really happy to see that there are talented people doing this, and hope that we can take advantage of them in the future.
Thanks, Paul. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I like the Waterworks analogy. In fact, I used it myself when I was describing how government financing works in Canada. So I produced it. There's PDF supplements that accompany that video. But it really does show like the average person, okay, where money flows. And, you know, you don't have to add steam and ice. You can show through, you know, if they want to get into it deeper, you can show actual data that shows where money goes, where it comes from, with the exception of money creation. So this is where it gets really complicated and is a poor representation of our system when you try to marry it with balance sheet representations. Almost everybody gets lost. As soon as you have like 2 or 3 balance sheets beside each other, it's very difficult to follow the flow. But with water, it's quite clear. When you show, a body of water, where it comes from and where it flows, and it worked very well for me in describing how government financing works in Canada. And as far as the complexity goes, you can stop frame. That's a beautiful thing about video. You can stop frame and look at these things, but at least it shows there's a specific value of money moving from one place to another. And everybody gets that. So I like it.
That's fine. And I think the water analogy is, and I see why people do like the water analogy. To me, the water analogy is kind of equivalent to something that everybody needs. Everybody needs water to survive, and everybody needs money to survive under this system. So I think that's another reason why they kind of used it. But go ahead, Franz.
Yeah, I'm not so hot on the analogy, except people may be intrigued, in particular the younger generation, by this kind of artistic work, and and then you can say, no, you see, you may think it's complicated, the present system, and they can say, yes, it is complicated. And you know why? Because it's based basically on gross injustices of economic concentration, or as John is calling it, concentration of wealth. I call it the economic concentration, it's basically the same. And so in that way, it becomes a kind of attractive way of drawing people into the issue. And at the same time, you tell them, yeah, but if it were a just, sustainable, and a stable system, it would be simpler, and it would be so. That's my point one. My point two is I would come back to what Teresa L. Amin was talking about. It's very interesting. I've been reading quite a few books over the last 20 years on monetary issues, and I generally go to the introduction and I go to the conclusion, and I see whether or not they include any kind of reference to the unjust structures. Not only structures, but also the process, of course, because any kind of system is both structure and its process. And then quickly you get to understand where this author is coming from. And then if you think that he or she is trying to discover the truth about the system, then you can go to the middle chapters. And so in my sequel, which is basically half written, and the other half is outlined, and I hope to get this thing published in the next year. I really emphasize the need for any kind of system to have a scientific underpinning. People can say, yeah, we really ought to do this and that, but it's very important to be believable, is to have a scientific underpinning. And so I also made clear what in my TRIMS monetary sustainability framework is essential, is the two basically ingredients for the scientific underpinning. And the first one is every one of us understands who wills sovereign money and money creation, etc. And the other step is global governance in the anthroposphere. And there is a gentleman, he's called Bierman. He is German, but he teaches at the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands. And he talks about the Earth system governance. So we really have to start thinking not only in terms of environment, but we have to really start thinking in terms of the Earth system itself, which is of course dominated by the humans. And so these two, basically these two authors, but also others, form the kind of scientific underpinning of my proposed transformational Bretton Woods 3.0. And much of that will be discussed during my presentation at the end of this month, or rather in the beginning of the next month, because my presentation will be on October 1st in the afternoon. And so there I will bring about the same kind of points that I put in the website of transformmoney.org. And so in that way, I think people will start thinking in terms of transformation of the system in the Anthropocene, because that is where things are going to be, or are already in there. We are already in the Anthropocene. And so that is that. But in the meantime, I also would like to tell that the organizing group, particularly Govert and Steve, and also Nick, who is here, and Joe Polito, have been quite active in organizing the conference. And I'm really impressed what's going to happen at the end of the month. And so I strongly invite everyone to at least to do their pickings, many of their pickings in terms of issues. And one thing that I would finally want to mention is our statement to COP28. And I wrote one page long of 6 statements of what we as Citizens Monetary Organization ought to present. And we are in the middle of discussing this, how to combine the past statement of 21 and the statement of the one-page statement of 6 points. And so I hope that Govert will also put that on the website before the conference, probably in the next 3 or 4 days. All of that will be on the website, including my PowerPoint, only 13 slides. And so that is the product of the sequel to my 2012 book, which was the inspiration of a decarbonization-based international monetary system, with a digital currency, by the way, for since 2012. But any kind of digital currency has to be part of a system, and not only a domestic system where nations are trying to put this complementary currency into their thinking or into their financial system. It has to be part of an international monetary system. And so one of the central kind of ideas of such a system, such international monetary system, is a UN People's Bank. On the national level, a central bank is very important. But using the material of Omarova about her ideas about the future of a US central bank, I basically put it onto the international level. I made some changes, and I think that is really quite interesting and important. And so some of that is already on the website. So if you are interested, you can go there and listen on October 1st. Thank you.
Thanks. I think Franz was referring to the AMI conference that's coming up at the beginning of next month, where you'll have a presentation. I'm sure that Ryan was going to give a plug to it at some point in time before we get out of here in the next 15 minutes or so. Go ahead, Joe. Thanks, Franz.
I also like the primary motif of water. It's one of the three things that are gifts of nature. They're not something that are produced by humans: water, air, and land, and part of the commons. And I've always appreciated the critics of what happened in the enclosure phenomena in the UK, where the aristocrats enclosed the land, they enclosed the commons, and for their own personal gain. And that analogy holds true for water. It's a good choice for that reason. It's part of the commons, and it goes back to the notion I mentioned earlier about Zarlenga saying that money was a creature of the law, and which is also part of the commons, right? Our whole judicial system is part of the commons, and privatized money, and we want to nationalize and make sure everybody and use for the highest priority good. So I think it's a great motif, and I look forward to seeing their future videos.
Yeah, it's been delayed. I know it was supposed to come out in August, but I think, like I said, they got the last time I talked to the group, Martin Linden, I think it's Margin. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name, but I think they were delayed by trying to get translations completed with the grant they received, and so I guess they're busy at that. But if I do talk to him here anytime soon, I will definitely relay some of the comments. And the main comment is that we really want to see the solution videos come about, and not just the analysis of how horrible our system is. Are there other comments? I said about 9:15, so we have another 15 minutes left. There anybody else that hasn't spoken or would like to voice an opinion? You can get it in now. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I just can't keep my mouth shut. Anyways, Joe, can you do me a favor and post, because I can't go on the internet outside of this because I got a problem with my computer. This is for Franz too, is the PMC transition plan with regard to central bank digital currencies. So I was wondering if you could post that in the chat for me.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
That was simple, Jeff. I thought you would have more than that. So if there are no other ones, I won't stay on here for no reason. So if no one else has any other comments, then I'm glad you guys can make it out. As I said before, there is another series of videos that the the CWC has been looking at, and it's a series of about, I think it's about 20 videos that we would also like to show in bunches, maybe five or six. That goes through actually the history of money in this is more particular to the United States, but it goes all the way back to the early history of the money argument in the United States. So back to 1600s, 1700s, how everything happened. They're very, very interesting videos all the way up to the present day. So we've been talking about having a coffee house showing those also. Oh, Teresa. Okay, Teresa, go ahead.
Well, I got knocked off for a minute, so I just wanted to make sure that you'll send out the recording as well as the chat. And I wanted to ask if the AMI conference is on
Yes.
Zoom or in person only.
I believe it's on Zoom only. It used to be in person. Has been in person since, I don't know, 2000. Been a while. I'm not sure the last time it was in person. I think it was 2013 or 14. It's been a second since it's been in person, but it will definitely be on Zoom. There's actually Ryan, could you repost it in case Teresa had fell off when you posted a link, and you repost the link to the AMI conference? You can register. You just
Yeah,
posted the 19th. Yeah, you can
yeah,
follow that, and
uh, yeah, I started registering. That's the only
okay.
thing that I have access to. But if someone could send out the whole chat, because I'm using my phone, so I would really appreciate it, because I was about uh, to register for it, because it was like $35, and then there were like lots of other amounts, like $5. So it's like you could pick any amount. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I have not looked at it. Somebody else may be able to comment on it. Mike just told me that the last in-person conference was 2019, so it looks like it took a COVID dip. Does anybody else know any other details about the AMI conference? I think she said Joe was planning it, and Nick. Do you have any details on what Teresa's question was? No.
I don't have all of the answers, but I do believe if there is any issues with payment, I believe Stephen is available, or there is a contact available for help with that. But I see Joe has his hand up, so maybe he knows a better answer.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I don't. uh, I had my hand up about something else. Go ahead. I mean, nobody knows more than you, Ryan.
Go ahead, Joe. What were you going to say? Did you have another comment, Joe?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to plug the. I'll put a link in. A lot of our group has seen this, but the Positive Pengar is putting on a presentation tomorrow. They've already got, well, as of several days ago, they had 350 people attending this seminar. And
Wow.
it's about monetary reform, and it's about um, climate change. And there's going to be some politicians there, I gather. It's just kind of taken off. And, I think it'd be a great thing to attend. We can plug our stuff while there. And I think one of theirs is going to be presenting at our conference, the AMI conference, that is. And so we shouldn't feel guilty about shamelessly plugging ours while we're there. But anyway, I put the link in, and you can sign up for it tomorrow afternoon. And it looks like it might be a happening thing, right? And I know Kumhoff was quite happy about the numbers that turned up for his presentation. So, all more power to Pengar if they can get more and more people to attend the seminars.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Mary Sanderson. Hey, Mary.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. I'm just answering Teresa's question. I did register for the AMI, and I believe you read that screen correctly. There are several different amounts of money, and there's a place where it says, if you want to attend without paying, you may.
Thanks, Mary. Nick.
I was just going to second what Mary said, that anybody that has trouble paying, there have been enough people that have stepped up to the plate, so that will be taken care of. But we'd like to have you there, Teresa. It's kind of a long thing and a grueling thing, and some of the professors, whatever, that give presentations, you're just coming at this for the first time. A lot of that stuff may, be beyond you, but pay attention to some of the others, and as somebody was saying, kind of pick and choose what you want. But we're delighted to have you taking a look at everything.
Thanks, Nick. Okay. Well, it's 9:20. Like I said, I have no problem ending early. So I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching the Waterworks video, for a good conversation and some good feedback. We have Jeff. Mary's
Sure.
clapping. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to plug the PMC transition plan with regard to CBDCs. In addition to the credibility of it, I had a conversation with Michael Kumhoff, not only live, but through emails. So this is entirely plausible and it's very simple. So anybody can go to the Progressive Money Canada homepage and it'll be the top video on CBDCs. And it's only about a little over 2 minutes long. And there's no confusion about how it would work.
Cool. And Franz.
Mark, I was exactly thinking of coming this evening to hear you to talk also about the MMR, the International Movement for Monetary Reform, because it is so important that the CMOs, I call it, Citizens Monetary Organizations, are able to speak up not only at the COP conferences, but also at UNCTAD. UNCTAD is an organization, in my opinion, one of the most enlightened organizations, and that would also be an organization that would welcome us. And so I was wondering what is basically happening with IMMR.
Right now we are setting up our working groups for the 2023-2024 year. I can send that out. Anyone is welcome to join. There are probably about 5 or 6 different working groups that we're working on. And they range from CDBC to research to the United Nations, to strategy involving the IMMR. The IMMR is, while I agree with you, Franz, that it's extremely important, it's also extremely difficult. And the difficulty really lies in people scattered across the globe trying to find times to meet and everything else. The alliance is difficult enough to get people together. But when you're talking about, people in Malaysia, in America, in Europe, and, sometimes South Africa, the time zones can get crazy. And so, but we meet about every 2 weeks, and we try to move the ball forward. I think we all know how important the international perspective is, because we have an international monetary system. Even though it's nationally organized, it's still an international system. And so it is very important. So there are emails that go out. You probably don't receive them. I don't know if you've been to the IMMR website to get on the subscription list, but I would encourage you to do that, so you would get our emails and our newsletters and stuff like that. And you can follow it a little bit closely. And you can always reach out to me and say, hey, what are these working groups you guys are working on? I'm interested in one, and I can patch you in. So, okay. That good for everybody? Well, we made it with 6 minutes to spare. I hope everybody has a great, fabulous week with the entrance of fall weather everywhere. And with that, I will say so long to everyone, and we will see you guys next time.